Hello dear students. So today I am going to talk about cascadeless schedule. See this schedule. Here we have three transactions T1, T2 and T3. Transaction T2 is dependent on T1 and transaction T3 is dependent on transaction T2 because all are operating on data item A. But what happens? Transaction T2 is committing first, although it depends on transaction T1, and then after T1 commits and after that T3 commits. So what happens if suppose system gets failed after T2 has committed? Then in that case T1 has to roll back its all operations and T3 also has to roll back its all operations. In that case, schedule will be inconsistent and it will be irrecoverable. So first we need to make it recoverable. So let's see the second one. In this schedule, T1 is committing first and T2 is committing second and T3 is committing at the last. Why? Because T2 is dependent on T1 and T3 is dependent on T2. So if system gets failed at any point of time, then we will not have any kind of inconsistency. So this schedule becomes recoverable. But look this carefully, we have one problem. The problem is, suppose system gets failed before T1 has committed. So in that case, T1 has to roll back its all operation and T2 has to roll back its all operation in this way, and T3 has also to roll back all its operations. So what happens? In this case, every transaction has to roll back. So it is called cascading rollback, because every dependent transaction is rolling back its operation. Why? Because they were dependent on T1, and once T1 rolls back its operations, then T2, T3 has to roll back its operations. So it is a recoverable, although it is an inefficient way to deal with any schedule. So what could be the solution? So see this schedule. Here what happens after T1 has completed its all operation, it is committing, and then T2 has completed its all operation and then it has committed, and then T3 has completed its operation and committed. So in this case, if system gets failed at any point of time, then only that particular transaction has to roll back. And one more thing, you just see here carefully, we don't have dirty read. In the transaction T2 and T3, we have read, but these are not dirty read. Why? Because they are reading from database value. They are not reading from buffer value. So in this case, this schedule is called cascadeless, because they are not depending on the others. Means if others are rolling back its operations, then these dependent transactions need not to roll back its operations. So we have seen in today's class, although a schedule could be recoverable, but it may not be efficient. So to make it efficient, we have to commit their operation. We have to commit once it finishes its operations, and now it becomes cascadeless. Cascade schedule means when all other dependent transactions has to roll back, then this is called cascading rollback. If others are not depending on the rollback of the first one, then it is called cascadeless. So with that, I would like to conclude today's class that if schedule is recoverable. It could be cascadeless, it could be cascade schedule, because in the previous slide we have seen it was a recoverable, but it was a cascadeless. It was a cascade, and now in the last we have seen cascadeless. So cascadeless provides you a kind of efficiency where you don't need to roll back all dependents transactions once the leading one gets failed. Okay, thank you all.